Yeah, just open the door and throw it at me. Hey, Dr. Kimberly, it says we're live.
We are. We're only, like a few minutes late here.
We don't have
But
any
you know what?
teenagers
Technology.
here. We need a teenager at Disability Advocates or at 100 Shades of Disability, because with a teenager, we'd have no technical problems.
Absolutely none. And you always have technical problems when you invite a guest and you say, "Oh my gosh, hey, so can you join us?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, sure." And it make them seem like, oh, we're just so together here.
We are together, but Cassaundra knows us because
It's true.
it's all about, what's it all about? It's all about the message, not the medium, but the medium can't get in the way.
This is true. There we go.
So
I feel a little bit closer. Opa! So here we go. I love it when he does that. But you know what? Today is Tuesday, and it is April 5th. Can you believe it? And you are rolling on the road with Dr. Kimberly and Dave. We are fastly approaching our 2-year mark. May 7th will be 2 years since we have been rolling on the road. We have, I believe, covered the spectrum of all things COVID. I don't think there's anything left to really talk about concerning that. But what we have found out is that many people say, you know what, we didn't know that agency existed. Oh my gosh, we didn't know that agency did that. So we are dedicating our time moving forward as the law allows us to do, rolling on the road, and our time to make sure that you know what services are available to you. If you are not in the metro Kent County area, as we know that we are in 50 states and in 9 countries. Isn't that crazy?
You know, because that's the piece is, when we say coast to coast, we are not exaggerating. We're not making
Not at all.
Folks. We have been coast to coast on rolling on the road.
We have even taken you to different, we hit all 14 of the centers for independent living in the state of Michigan. We hit some in California. We have been to Jersey, and we're looking forward to doing a whole lot more so that you know what is in your area. And if you're not in our country, like we did a few shows back, and you happen to be in Kenya, we can still talk you through some services and connect you to agencies that are here in the United States that do help others that are in other countries. Guess who is on with us today, Dave? Shantae Jones is on. She's watching live. Yes.
Nice. But for our guest today, we're not going coast to coast. We're going to the shores. The shores of the Grand River, just north of downtown Grand Rapids, 750 Front Street.
Mm-hmm. Who is it? And it is, drum roll, please,
Cassaundra Wolf. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me on the show today.
It doesn't appear that you're at home.
No. We have been.
Who's we?
Yes. So I'm a rehabilitation counselor with Michigan Rehabilitation Services, and I'm working right here at the 750 Front address. And actually, my office view is a lovely view of the Grand River, which is great. And so our office is a state agency, and we've got folks who are still working from home currently, but we're also invited to kind of come back into the office. And as people are comfortable to receive services from us, we've got kind of that soft opening. So if people are comfortable coming in to receive services, they can do that, or we can do things remotely as well. It's always kind of a moving target with the state and trying to look at safety precautions. So I am in the office today. I've chosen to kind of come back, and sometimes I work from home depending on what my own accommodation needs are. So
I do know that we had some questions from some of our viewers. But if you could kind of give us a brief overview of what Michigan Rehabilitative Services does. I think I kind of like their logo. It says where everybody with varied abilities has an opportunity maybe to find work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Michigan Rehabilitation Services, or MRS, as we like to be known, we are a state agency with vocational rehabilitation, and our focus is helping people with disabilities to either gain new employment or to maintain the current employment they have. And really that kind of spans the entire gamut. You know, someone, when you hear the word disability, or at least when maybe employers hear the word disability, they might think that means like the most severe or the most needs to get someone back to the workplace. And really, while we do serve those individuals, each case is an individual case, and we work with people from, you know, depression, anxiety, autism, even if someone has a bad back. A lot of the folks that I've seen maybe acquired injuries on the job that were long-term injuries, and they're no longer able to work in that same setting, or maybe would need some accommodations to continue that work. So really, it's anyone with any kind of challenges or limitations is something that we would love to have a conversation with you to kind of walk you through our services and help you get where you need to be for employment.
I love that you said that. Many times when I speak to people, they make the assumption that being in a wheelchair is the only type of disability that there is. And really, it is not. And it's probably not the most popular. It's probably more neural disabilities that people experience. And what I would really love to see, I'm about to do a shameless plug. So me as a state rep, what I'm looking for is that people don't have to be ashamed to tell their employer. I know that we do a lot of disability decorum conversations. You know, when is the best time to have the conversation? Do we have it at all? Who do we need to tell on the job? But I would really love to just eliminate that altogether. I think I should be able to come to work and say, you know what, today is just not a good day for me. I need to have my lights low. And so if you come in my office, I don't want no loud talking. Don't cut my lights on because I need my lights off so that I can work. I need to have my special, you know, I call it origami, but it's not, you know, my little origami chair. And, you know, maybe I need to play a little jazz. That's what I need to get through my day today. You know, maybe you might need a little Jack Daniels. I don't know.
Well, that might not be an accommodation.
Don't think that is.
Oh,
That's
I'm sorry.
certainly
I
not
just
an
thought that while we was
No.
talking about accommodations.
Prescription medication under the direction of a doctor. However, Jack Daniels usually is not prescribed.
Oh, Dr. Jack. Oh, I'm sorry.
Not so much. Well, that's
Dr.
interesting,
Daniel.
Kim, that you would talk about that. So that's something that we do work through in the vocational rehabilitation process, is walking alongside someone to decide, okay, are there accommodations that you need? What do those look like? And who needs to be at the table to kind of help you with those conversations? So I have gone with my customers, you know, they're on the job and it's going well, and then maybe something happens where there's difficulties that none of us expected. And so we really come alongside and offer to be that conversation partner so that needs can be met and both the business and the customer can thrive.
Well, we have a comment here from Michelle Childs. Isn't that nice that she asked for assistance and she got it?
Thanks, Michelle.
I think that we all like to hear those, you know, those stories. And a lot of times we don't get an opportunity to hear from the consumer after they have gotten what they needed, to be able to come back and say, hey, thank you so much. You know, I appreciated it. But what are some of the other accommodations that people can ask for?
Well, honestly, it really is an individualized approach when it comes to asking for accommodations is really a process. So if someone were to come to me and they were on my caseload and they were made eligible based on our criteria of, you have a disability, you've got medical clearance to work, and we would see that you would benefit from our services, then, we would help them search for a job or maintain the job they have. And if it gets to that point of accommodations, it may be discussing various assessments that could help them determine, what are the limitations and physical demands that a person can do. We also have a business network division, and they are part of our agency, but they partner with employers too. So quite often, if there's an accommodation conversation that needs to happen, I'm working with job developers and business network division liaisons and that customer, as well as their employer, to kind of collaborate together to really explore what's going to work for that individual with their specific job tasks.
Before you go any further, first shameless plug for yourself. How do people get a hold of you?
So my direct line is 616-268-0037. And also, if you type in Michigan Rehabilitation Services in your Google, then it will bring you to our website. And then there's going to be a map that you can find and then click on the county that you live in, because each office is kind of divided out by counties. And there are Michigan Rehabilitation Services all across the state of Michigan. Grand Rapids serves Kent and Ionia County.
Hey, it worked.
Yes, we want to say thank you to Dominic Russell. He said that he's gotten help from MRS before, and he says thank you, which we have up here. We want to say hello to Vertaji, who is watching us all the way from Detroit, Michigan. And she says her son is getting an MRS counselor. So if you are a parent that has a child who's going to need MRS services, what are some of the things that they need to make sure that they have handy, or that, is there a list of questions that they need to come with, or will you just provide them with everything that they may need?
So if there's a parent of a child who's still in school, so in that 14 to 26 age range based on the WAO recommendations, the school should be able to connect that parent with the youth counselor for that region. And if there's an adult person who has a guardian, typically because I work with the adult population, then that guardian would come to those meetings and we would just kind of have a conversation. If you can have up-to-date medical records that share what a diagnostic is, that's really helpful. But if not, we can absolutely sign releases to get that done. Or we could look for assessments that may be needed. Because sometimes people come to us and they say, hey, I think I may have some of these concerns, but I'm not sure how to access proof of that. And that's a process that an MRS counselor could walk through them with as well.
Well, it is now 20 after the hour. Thank you so much for tuning in to Rolling on the Road with Dr. Kimberly and Dave. Our guest is Cassaundra Wolf, who is an MSW. She's got a master's in social work, and she is a counselor at the Michigan Rehabilitation Services, along with vocational rehabilitation. We are in the Michigan area, so we are specifically talking about services that are offered here in Michigan. However, you can find rehabilitative services. Dave, do you have that?
One more time.
Do you have a link for generic rehabilitative services?
You mean do you mean like nationwide, Kim?
Yes, ma'am.
So each state would have their own vocational rehabilitation program. And I'm not quite sure because each state might kind of code that differently or have it under different departments. I think what might be best if it were me, I might just search vocational rehabilitation and then the state that I live in to see what would come up on Google.
And that's why she has the master's, everybody. She has mastered what it is that she does. Yes. But you know what? We love shameless plugs around here. And so I'd like to give a shameless plug to the Grand Rapids African American Health Institute. Yep. If you are in need of services, I do believe that they are still helping persons. If you have not gotten a COVID test, that you can go get tested. They can help you to get a vaccine and make sure that you are staying safe. Again, that is the Grand Rapids African American Health Institute. So that's our shout out to them on today. So we again have Miss Cassaundra Wolf, and we are talking about rehabilitative services. And okay, so Mr. Russell says use Google. That's his best friend. Thank you, Russell. And Vertaji says that her sister is an MRS counselor.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
So how exciting is that? So you get up close and personal attention, hopefully, boop, 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 over there in the Detroit area. But what are some of the I would like to say more unique cases that you have had that you would like to hang on your hat that you really helped someone through?
I think, each case is really interesting. One particular case that we have timelines. We have it's a process and it does take time, but there's also specific timeframes and goals that we have to meet because we're always looking to serve the customer effectively and efficiently so that they can reach their desired employment outcome. Because having a job is something that is as a need for dignity and worth. And yet sometimes someone might come to us and they are struggling in ways, so it might take them a bit longer. But the thing that I'm most proud of is, when there's a case that I've maybe had for a couple of years where we're trying things out, we're trying different assessments, we're trying different job opportunities or maybe different job developers or asking different questions. And it seems to be that it doesn't really go anywhere. But if you kind of continue to ask those questions and maybe they're not being asked in the right way or a different set of eyes needs to be on that. And then like those cases that are really successful that maybe I didn't know or that customer didn't know would be successful, to see them finally achieve a good placement and a great outcome and to feel satisfied even after being with our agency for a pretty long time. That those are the ones that mean, I think, a lot to me. But also, I'm really pleased with how we do our services because each case is individualized. So you should know that, if you have a specific disability and maybe you've got friends who have that same disability and they've gone through MRS, and so you come to MRS expecting that we'll give you all the same things that Johnny got or whatever. That's not necessarily going to be the case because each counselor is going to work with each person individually. And I think that's really great because I have seen folks gain just tremendous awareness of their own skills and their own abilities and what they can give back to a community that maybe they didn't have prior to coming to our services. And I think that's even true with, I've had to close some cases unsuccessfully because for whatever reason, maybe our program wasn't the best fit for that person at this time. And they've come back to me a few years later and have said, hey, I'm really wanting to build upon the skills that we learned initially. Here's what I've learned about myself in my time away, and I'm ready to come back and try this employment thing again. I find that really rewarding, and I make sure to tell the customer that too, of like you've gained ground, and anytime that you're choosing to participate in our services, no matter what the outcome is, I firmly believe that a customer will walk away with more skills and more knowledge about themselves than what they came with.
Okay, now I'm going to give you a curveball.
Okay.
What if you do not have, quote unquote, a medical disability, but you have a ability that prevents you from having, let's say, a regular 9 to 5? What if you have 6 children and one of your children has a significant disability and you need to find a job that will accommodate that, can I come to MRS for that?
Only if the person themselves has that concern. So like if it's a mom who's got 6 kids and one of her kids has medical challenges that needs to accommodate that schedule, we would not be able to help her unless she, of course, had like a diagnosis where mental health, physical health is impacting her ability to maintain her job.
Okay, so she needs to first be diagnosed with maybe depression or anxiety.
Yeah. Yep. If someone, and we would always look at that again on an individualized case by case scenario to say, you know, here's our program, here are the expectations of it. What does it look like for you to participate in that, to connect with all the resources we have, and to, you know, look for gainful employment.
Is entrepreneurship ever an option when you come to MRS?
It could be. It's again one of those things that's an individual case by case scenario, and you would have to connect with your counselor about that specifically.
But it's not like an advertised service for MRS.
Right. Well, I mean, it's, yep. So it's one of those things that, is this going to be a sustainable job goal, and what are the barriers that you have? And, you know, you and your counselor would just have to address that together to figure out, you know, is this a feasible option for you with your strengths and with the limitations that you have?
Dave, you look so intense. What do you got going on over there?
Well, I put in the so-called private chat.
I
don't know if this would be comments. Does that go live to the studio audience where I'll put this in? Oh, it does. It does. Or maybe I just see them. I don't know if I can make a comment.
Yes, you can. You have to put it in the comments and not in private chat.
All right. You make me like figure this stuff out. So there's Sean.
Okay, so you want me to do the work for you?
No, but where does I don't see
where
it goes. I don't see where it goes. It says having issues ? That's for me. But
I'm handicapped and I haven't been to MRS, so I don't know if I can do that job or not.
Handy capable. I used to say, but it's. I put in the private chat. There's actually a national list of, and it's not only national, it's like all the things America owns too. We forget that we're an empire and we have colonies, territories. It's like there's an Office of Vocational Rehabilitation in American Samoa. Wow. Dr. Kimberly, did you ever go to American Samoa when you were in the Navy?
I did not.
But thank you for your service nonetheless.
Thank
you.
The
American Samoans do too, because the Navy helps protect them.
They do.
But there's a whole list because under Michigan, it's not only Michigan Rehab Services, but there's the Bureau of Services for Blind Persons.
Yes.
So a state can have 1 or 2. We have 2. Many states have only 1. So that's what I'm like, you know, this Google search inspired by Dominic. You know, I went out to Google and I knew there had to be a list because we always go to ilru.org for the list of national centers, or this national list for Centers for Independent Living. And so this is the national list for state vocational rehab, state and territorial. So, because again, as we said, we're in 50 states. Sorry for the folks in Kenya. Hopefully there's a vocational rehab organization in Kenya. I'm sure there's going to be organizations to help folks with disabilities get jobs, but they may not be government supported like Michigan Rehab. Mm-hmm. So shameless plug, it's not mrs.com, is it?
No.
All right. How do they find you on that thing called the internet?
So I'm going to have to Google this because
Drum roll, please. She is Googling.
No. Hold on. I have it saved to my desktop.
It's right here. It's just michigan.gov/MRS. So it's close to that.
It's close to that?
it is michigan.gov/MRS. Boom, there you are, but not your actual picture.
Michigan.gov/MRS.
MRS, that easy.
Yeah.
Awesome sauce. And there's Centers for Independent Living as a disability resource. What are we doing on your webpage? But anyways, so yeah, helping folks finding jobs, because I've only heard tell that there's nothing but jobs available out there.
That's what I heard too.
Is that true?
That's what I keep hearing. There are lots and lots of jobs. So we're really excited to kind of connect you with the jobs that are out there. That's our hope and our goal.
So again, I'm a person allegedly with a disability. I'm not, but I play one. I don't even play one on TV. So if a person with a disability, it's like, I want to get a job, but I don't even know where to start. What do I do?
Yeah. So I think that's like the great question. So you would contact our office and we would set up an intake with you, and we would just kind of talk with you. At least, the way that I approach an intake is I would like to sit down with that person and say, well, so tell me about yourself. What kind of brings you in today? What are you
Okay, so
for?
my name is Kimberly. My favorite color is purple, and my dog's name is Purple, and I think I might want a job. But guess what? I have to go to the doctor every 2 weeks because I have a pump. And so when I go to the doctor, I'm usually not any good the rest of the day or the next day. So can I have a job where like I can have Thursdays and Fridays off, because I have a standing appointment every 2 weeks on Thursdays in Ann Arbor, which is about a couple of hours away from where I live. And I might need to take breaks because there are times when I get more medicine than others. And I feel bad for like the first couple of hours that I'm getting extra medicine. So can I actually find a job with all of those seemingly limitations?
Yeah, so we would talk about how, those are definitely concerns that you would have. And we would kind of work with you to figure out, okay, first of all, what's the job market like? What are you looking for? And, once we kind of get to that point of eligibility and then career exploration, and then we would kind of write a plan for employment that would say, okay, we're looking for these jobs and we may need kind of these accommodations or these supports. And then it would be really connecting you with a job developer to say, there's possibility here, but let's explore and kind of nail down what that possibility looks like, as far as a flex work schedule or maybe getting a few more breaks, things like that. Those are conversations that we're able to help facilitate with you and with an employer.
Okay, so the question is, do you help veterans that are disabled that may need housing? So I think we're going to break this question up a little bit. Are disabled veterans able to come to MRS, or do they have to use the VA's vocational rehabilitation program? Or can they access both?
They absolutely can come to MRS. We have a few counselors here who specifically work with the veteran population.
Okay, then the second part of the question is, what if housing is an issue as it relates to you getting a job? Is that something that we can have a conversation about, or would you refer me someplace else? How does that work?
I would definitely refer someplace else, unfortunately. I mean, housing is a huge crisis here in Grand Rapids and in broader Kent County. What MRS does is we very much focus on employment. So that's our goal. When I meet with you, I'm going to talk about some barriers that you have, including housing. And we're going to resource those out and connect you with other agencies who may be able to help you with those housing lists so that you and I can focus on your employment outcome.
Okay. Do you help with transportation to employment?
That also depends. So, that is something that could be supported in a person's plan if it was determined that that was needed for a short amount of time. Gas vouchers, Go Bus tickets on a limited basis. It wouldn't be for the entirety of their time with us, but a counselor would work with that individual to figure out what was reasonable if that was something that was needed.
Okay. What if you say that word reasonable? Now, what if, again, I'm your intake person and I say this part of the story is true. I'm a massive fan. Dr. Kimberly laughs. I'm a huge fan of Elon Musk and SpaceX. And there's Astra, and there's Relativity, and there's Rocket Lab, and there's this other company. I want to start a rocket company in West Michigan and be its CEO. Can you help me, Cassaundra?
Please shut the door in his way. I'm sorry, sir.
So
I'm going to refer you to Dr. Jack Daniels. You need to have a conversation with him.
Relativity Space. They're 3D printing a rocket. I want to 3D print a rocket here in Grand Rapids, and I'm a person with a disability. Can you help me create that job, Cassaundra Wolf?
I would say that we're going to have to really look at what is realistic about that job. What's realistic about that goal? What about that intrigues you? And maybe we can kind of come at finding something that is more, science-based. I think we're always looking at something that is going to be competitive and sustainable for you to keep. But again, if it's a dream to be a rocket scientist, I haven't had that come up. But
I just want to be a billionaire, and I figured this was the easiest way there. Because he became a billionaire. No, you know what's funny, Cassaundra? Your answer, not funny in a funny way, but your answer reminds me of one of my favoriteest rehabilitation stories of probably 25 years ago, where there was a young guy who had a developmental disability, and he was talking with his, you talked about, the partnership with schools and parents and rehabilitation counselors. And this guy wanted to be an astronaut so bad. And, he would try different jobs, and he would it's like, I want to be an astronaut. This is not being an astronaut.
Right. They
got him a job working at the local planetarium. And, it was a job well within his skill set. And the guy went to the moon every day. He loved this job, and he was an awesome performer. And again, it took that creativity to say, all right, probably one of the hardest things in America, second only to president, is to become an astronaut. It is, the latest class is like 20 people, and every few years they pick 20 people to get in the astronaut class. I'm not making this up, folks. I am a space junkie. I am a space junkie. And so, but again, you were just right there. Let's talk about the space industry, Dave, and how you might be able to connect to it. And heck, maybe there's a manufacturer here in Grand Rapids that makes a tiny little part that goes into a rocket.
Yes.
And I could be connected to the space industry that way. And I'll just have to pretend I'm a billionaire in other ways. My Facebook profile.
Yeah, it's always about, I think, and my favorite part of the job that I do is finding the creative connections and what are the interests and the passions beneath the big dream, and how can we connect those to something that is attainable. That planetarium story, like that, to me, I don't know how the whole process went for that young man, but that to me is an exact example of like when we do VR, and that's exactly what it should do. That makes me really happy.
Oh, I can hear the tears in your voice.
That's just really great. I
hear the tears, but I do love it when you're able to think as if there is no box, because there are so many working pieces to what it is that can happen. It's like, oh, okay, we talk about space, but again, somebody has to make the little screws to make sure that the door shuts, and somebody's got to clean up the room when they throw papers down when something doesn't make sense, and somebody needs to clean the board off, the whiteboard. And, as they're putting things together, yes, sir. I see the light bulb. I see it burning.
And, of course, if you're in Grand Rapids, I heard allegedly they're we have these old Air Force bases. Sorry, Dr. Kimberly, I know you're a Navy veteran, but we're going to talk about the Air Force. There used to be
Okay, I guess.
back in the Cold War, there were B-52 bases in Wordsmith, over by Oscoda, and then KW Sawyer just outside of Marquette. And I heard tell that they're going to create a rocket launching area in Marquette at the old Air Force Base, because it's all about these like orbits that go from pole to pole as opposed to this way. And so like, I don't know if that's true or not, but hey, you might be able to move to Marquette and get involved with the rocket industry. My wife won't let me move to Marquette. She wants to go south, but I digress.
None of them want you to move.
Exactly.
It don't move.
We're not moving, but Marquette. So anyways, all of these opportunities. So you, again, as a vocational rehab counselor, you like to pull things apart to get to the why.
Yeah.
Real goal.
Absolutely. And why, and then what's possible. And sometimes I do have to kind of be a bit of a dream crusher for like the big dream, and that is challenging. But I try so hard to be like, our goal is the same goal, and it's the goal to help you achieve employment, because there's a workforce that needs you. There's a workforce that needs your skills and your abilities and the capabilities. And so like, let's work together to make that happen.
And not just to be a greeter at Walmart or Myers.
Unless you want that. And if you want that, then let's make that happen, Yeah,
but at the same time to say, well, I want to, work in the produce section of Meijer. Let's use it locally based, or at Family Fair. And y'all would say, well, here's how you get started. You start as a greeter and then you work your way over, as opposed to you're going to be a greeter for the next 40 years. It's like, no.
Right.
No.
Yeah. How do you get your foot in the door? Where do you start from there? And I think that's something that maybe people are frustrated by, of like, oh, I just want to get to the place. But we always share people, you've got to get in the door, network while you're there, let them see what you're good at, let them see your skills, and opportunities will come,
Well, we want to say, I can't believe it, but it's true. Our time is up.
Oh, wow.
And we want to say thank you so much. I think I learned a lot. And I hope and pray that everybody gets an MRS counselor that is like you, who will sit down, hear the heart of the person, and say, you know what, this is what we can do and how we can make this so much better. Because I believe that everybody deserves the right to live their own self-directed life, one that will afford them an opportunity to be independent and to socialize as they see fit and really feel a part of, because we know that diversity, equity, and inclusion is not just about race or gender, but about a person's ability as well. So we are so grateful that we have a MRS, a vocational rehabilitation services, where you can go and everybody has an opportunity to realize whatever their dream is. Again, our guest today has been Ms. Cassaundra Wolf from the Michigan Rehabilitation Services, and her number is 616. Oh, wait a minute. Where did it go? 616. I can't see.
268-0037.
What's your? I'm trying to be
there. Cassaundra,
what was that?
The main number?
I couldn't find that on here. Hold on.
Uh-oh, I'm going back to Google. Thanks, Dominic.
This is really embarrassing. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I just have everything programmed into my phone that I don't memorize anything anymore.
But you know what? You can always call 616-949-1100 and they can tell you exactly where to go.
Or 616-242-6450.
6450.
6450, that's 750 Front Street on the lovely shores of the Grand River. Actually, they're not lovely shores there because they're concrete walls. But we're working on that.
We're getting there.
On the Grand River.
And, we again in Grand Rapids serve Kent and Ionia County. So, yeah, you can call that the 616-242. What was that number, Dave?
6450.
6450. That's the
6450.
242-6450 is the main line office number. So you'll get our lovely receptionists.
Florence, who is beyond lovely.
I know, it's
Florence is fantastic.
Yeah, she's great.
She's not from Kenya. Is she from Nigeria?
Oh man, I don't know.
But Florence, folks, call that number. Talk to Florence. She's fantastic.
Yeah, it'll either be Florence or Joyce. I think they kind of share that, but they're both wonderful. They will send you out a packet of information, or if you call me directly, you're welcome to do that too. It may not end up that I will be your counselor, but I can certainly get you connected too, so you have 2 points of contact there. And
she's not guaranteeing she'll help you become a space billionaire, but she's not saying it won't happen. She's just saying start, and then we'll get to space billionaire maybe. Maybe. I love, yeah. So thank you again, Cassaundra. It's always awesome to hang out with you. Yes, thank you so much for having me on, you guys. I love to talk about MRS because I think, unfortunately, we're the best kept secret when it comes to disability resources. So.
I think that you are.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Thanks both so much.